Now, the first 5 steps, okay, they give you the case. The first thing you do is you summarize the case. And the reason you do that is some of these questions are very short. How do we increase sales at the campus bookstore? But some are long and involved and have lots of numbers. And this information's coming at you like a fire hose, and you're writing it down as fast as you can. But you may not capture all the data, and you don't want to spend the next half hour answering a case with only partial information. So you don't want to ask them to repeat it because they don't like to repeat anything. So by summarizing it, you get to hear it again, and you lay it all out for the interviewer. And they may say to you, you know what, I said 60%, I didn't say 40%, and you forgot this. So you and the interviewer are basically on the same page from the get-go. The other reason why you want to summarize it is it fills the gap of silence between the end of their question and the beginning of your answer. Okay? Because if they give you a question and they sit there, or you sit there and you look up at the ceiling, it seems like a lifetime, and the awkward clock starts ticking. Okay? You're dead in the water, you got no momentum. But if you summarize it, you got a little momentum going, and then you verify the objective. The objective often drives the whole case. And there's usually a secondary objective that they don't tell you about that's going to pop up halfway through the case and bite you. So you'll want to get into a habit of saying, besides, let's say, increasing sales, are there any other objectives I should be concerned with? If there are, they'll tell you. If there's not, you don't have to worry about it. Okay? But you don't want to get sandbagged in the middle of a case when they bring up another objective. The third step is asking questions. This is your opportunity to gather data about the company, the market, the product, whatever the case is about. You can ask 3 to 5 questions initially to gather data. But don't pepper them with a lot of questions to buy time. They can pick up on that very quickly, and they don't like it. And also, don't phrase questions to make them feel as if you're trying to get them to answer the case for you. Again, they hate that, and they'll throw it right back in your face and say, well, what do you think? And then you either need to rephrase the question or start making assumptions. The fourth step, which is by far the hardest, is laying out your structure. Okay. Basically, a structure is, given the limited information that we have so far, at this moment in time, how would you go about answering this case? Now, a couple things about structure. One, you're not married to it. Some structures you're going to use and they'll work it all the way through the case. Other structures, you lay it out and then they're going to become obsolete within 2 minutes because new information, twists and turns in the case are going to be added. So you're not married to it, but structure is extremely important, especially when you get a case like, here's my problem, what do I do? That's an interviewee-driven case. You're driving the case, and you need to take control of it, and the best way to do that is to lay out a structure. The other type of case is, here's my problem, what do? I want you to figure out these 4 things. That's an interviewer-driven case. The interviewer is driving that case, telling you what he or she wants you to answer. After the structure, you should state a hypothesis. Okay? And basically a hypothesis is just a statement that you can prove or disprove. It helps narrow down the scope of the question. And you should be able to do it within the first 3 to 5 minutes of the interview. In real life, consultants can take anywhere from 1 to 3 days to come up with a hypothesis. Don't worry if you disprove it, that's fine as well, but they like you to state one, particularly on cases like, here's my problem, what do I do? Now that being said, steps 3 through 5 can be flipped around, because if you know that it's a profit and loss case, you already know what the structure is, so you're going to lay out your structure, maybe even state your hypothesis, and then ask some questions. You'll get a feel for this as you practice. And again, remember, nothing beats live practice, and you're going to want to do 30 live cases. Now, here's an example for a second. A private equity firm bought a brand name shoe company for $2 billion. They paid $43 a share. The stock was trading at $30 a share at the time of the announcement. The shoe company generates $1.5 billion in sales. They have 230 stores worldwide, 200 of which are in the United States. Last year, they experienced a drop in profits. Their profits fell by 30%. The chairman of the private equity firm calls you into her office and says, raise profits by 50%. So when you summarize a case, there's a couple things you want to do. One, you want to hit on all the numbers because you don't know whether or not the information they just gave you is relevant or not. Some of it's going to be relevant. You're going to jump on it and run right away. Some of it's going to be pure smoke. It's there to mess with you. But some of it, you're not sure whether it's relevant or not. So you want to make sure you get all the numbers right. Also, if there's any numbers that are related, you want to quantify them as a percentage. Okay, so in this case, they paid $43 a share. You don't want to say they paid $43 a share. You don't want to say they paid a $13 premium. What you want to say is they paid a little more than a 40% premium. So always quantify numbers that are related as a percentage, whether it's a shift in stock price or whether it's year-to-year data to compare. So if I summarize this case, I would say, okay, there was a private equity firm. They bought a brand name shoe company for $2 billion. They paid a little over 40% premium. The shoe company generates $1.5 billion in sales. They have 230 stores, 85% of which are in the United States. They experienced a 30% decline in profits. Besides increasing profits by 50%, is there any other objective I should be concerned with? If there is, they'll tell you. If there's not, don't worry about it. Now, as a side note, I've given this case over 50 times, and not one MBA has ever asked me about the private equity firm. And if this was a real interview and you didn't ask me about the private equity firm, I don't care how well you did on the rest of the case, you're not moving on because it's a key element of this case. Who are they? What else do they own? And why do they want to buy this? So just keep that in mind. Whenever you get a merger and acquisition question, you always want to ask about the acquiring company. Who are they? Why did they want to buy this? And what do they own or what other products do they have?